corruption, it's perversion masquerading under the guise of renewal.
Today, they've degenerated into a social club for bored millionaires and celebrities who use its meetings as an excuse to indulge their jaded sexual appetites.
Mom, do you really want to go and live in that hotel for the winter?
Sure I do. It'll be lots of fun.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
He has his father's eyes.
Welcome, Uncensored Cinefiles fans, to a new movie review breakdown. This one of
Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand
Oh,
Luke.
wait, I thought I was saying the movie title. You just, cut me off there. And it's supposed to be...
I was saying it.
I know. I thought it was Women's History Month, and it was International Women's Day the other day, and you're just cut me off, invading my space.
Yeah, of course, because that's what we should do. I believe what we call it is a failure to communicate.
I
can do it better. I can do it better now. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
I believe what we have here is a failure to communicate.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
That's great. And my background is the sort of crossroads, which is the ending of the film. So lots of symbolic cross symmetry sort of being used, imagery even. So it's very interesting. It's like watching this film now compared to when I watched it as a teenager. I'm like picking up on a lot more. So I know that we said we were going to keep this review short, and there's not really the deep dives that we've got, but there's still plenty of things that we can talk about in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a Paul Newman film, and it's a really good Paul Newman film. He did a really good job acting in the film. I don't know much about the director or anything like that in this film. I don't know of his other works and things, but it was a very well done film. I thought, the filmography was good. It stands up. It was a decent prison movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what's interesting about this movie is it was made in 1967, which is the time that it's the turning time of old Hollywood. So the studio system, the old movies that were heavily censored by the Hays Code, and now emerging into new Hollywood. So before it all became the Hollywood that we know today.
Yeah.
So the director was Stuart Rosenberg, and you might know another one of his films that he directed was the Amityville Horror.
Oh, okay.
Which is obviously another interesting movie. And he also directed The Drowning Pool, which I haven't seen, but that stars Paul Newman as well. So it's he obviously had a good working relationship with Paul Newman. And I'm not sure if there's anything else that I've heard of any of his other movies, but I think he started off mostly in TV. So, but this movie was stars George Kennedy. So I don't know if you recognize the character of I think it's Dragline, who is the one that sort of has a boxing match with Luke in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he received a Oscar for his performance. He also
Really?
starred in The Dirty Dozen, Spartacus, quite a lot of movies. So he's got, quite a recognizable face. So, but what did you? I'm intrigued to hear what you thought of this movie, because obviously this is like a film that I recommended. So we're kind of trying some different things here on Uncensored Cinephiles. So we're trying to be, what are we trying to do? We're just trying to be like, I don't know.
Trying to review decent films that we like and
Yeah.
might interest the audience. So this is one of them. I think Cool Hand Luke, is for seeing it for the first time, I'm not huge into prison films, but I did like this one as like a movie overall. I definitely would rather, as I said to you, I'd rather be in these prisons of these like olden times on the chain gang than in the gang bang, which is now the new prisons, right? So like the prison shows I've seen have been Oz, and I've seen movies like Let's Go to Prison, which is a hilarious comedy.
I don't know.
And okay, like, so these are all, or like, Half Baked, where the guy's trying to rape him in the showers all the time.
No! Devil man! Devil 666, the mark of the beast! No! Naughty! Naughty jungle of love!
So
yeah, I watched an interesting video essay about how homophobia is portrayed in cinema, and a lot of the jokes tend to be about prison rape. Like don't drop the soap. And they were saying like it's so weird because it even appears in like inappropriate sort of places where it shouldn't appear, like in kids cartoons, where I think there's like a SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob tells Patrick not to drop the soap or something. So it's like I don't know why that's become something of like, it's not a comedic thing, but in like popular culture it's like softened it really to sort of like, I don't know, maybe just make the whole thing seem like a bit of a joke really, when it's actually not.
Really gross and like awful for the people doing it. I don't understand why it's such a phenomenon in the modern like prison culture that takes place, but I don't know. It's just, it is. And I guess they put them back on the chain gang so they get their shit out, their frustrations out that way. Right. Because then, I mean, maybe they get to check out like a hot chick who's washing the car. What did you make of that scene?
Taking them off here, boss.
All right, take it off, man.
Damn things is blocking the scenery.
Oh man, I'm dying.
Well,
what was she doing? Why was she like out there washing her car in front of an entire chain gang of guys?
Rub it, baby. Clean that car. Rub.
I have no idea, but I think that like scene is so like 1960s. There's just like certain things you wouldn't be allowed to go away with now. It's like such a like obviously kind of sexist thing, but I mean, yeah, the girl doesn't even have a name or anything. I don't think. It's
Lucille.
Like, yeah, but she doesn't have. She just has a name, but she doesn't like necessarily have a character. You know, I guess she's seen as like object. So.
Yeah. But why? But you didn't answer the question. Why did she decide to go out and wash the car?
I don't think I have to answer the question, do
Uh,
I? So anyway, let's moving on. Of course, you would fixate on that like one scene.
it's the best scene in the movie. All the
What?
guys would agree. Hit 1 in the chat if you think that's the best scene in the movie.
No one is gonna. No, don't. I'll have words with you later.
I'll have words. So I thought the movie did have some kind of interesting messages to it, kind of maybe mixed messages, where like you have some sort of like religious sort of like stuff going on, but also at the same time like sort of anti-religious statements being made, like the ending in particular, right?
I don't know. I feel like, I guess I can see what you mean, because there isn't like a miracle. He's like almost asking for like some way out of the situation that he finds himself in, and then what ends up is obviously his unfortunate like end. But maybe that's what his end, like his way out, was to pass away. So maybe that was God sort of like answering him, because he couldn't really exist in that society because he wasn't able to just simply conform like everybody else. Like, wasn't like, even when they thought they had beaten him, and taken away his like spirit and his free will, and had essentially made him into some sort of like droid. He still had that sort of, he says like they just didn't break his mind, so they broke his body but they didn't break his mind. So, and maybe the only way out was for him to die essentially. So I feel like that ending is kind of justified.
Get out of the way. He's ours.
And it kind of like cements him as this like like almost like a sort of like a legend, like a myth, to sort of like inspire other people to sort of like not conform and to question authority. So I guess it comes like at a time where there was a huge sort of like anti-establishment movement in the 1960s, with like people fighting for civil rights and the Vietnam War and stuff. So I can sort of see why it like has that ending, but at the same time I feel like that ending, I don't know whether it would have ended the same way as nowadays if this movie was made. Like maybe people would be because so many times that we see like movies where the main character like is literally a superhuman, and the consequences, you never buy into like the actual like whether they're actually in any sort of like risk of being harmed or dying, because they are literally superhumans. So to me, this movie makes it feel very unique to its time that it was like set in and filmed in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does it? I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know.
But I mean, you see, like what I was saying was, so when he's about to be captured, he's kind of like running around in the church, being like, "Oh, this is, what you give me. This is the end result of like he's mad at God inside a church."
On my knees asking. Yeah, that's what I thought. I guess I'm pretty tough to deal with, huh? A hard case. Yeah. I guess I gotta find my own way.
When he gets shot and killed, but then like you see him carried off into the car, and as they're driving into the light, like the light changes color. What do you think that represents? It changes the red, by the way.
I suppose you could say red is like the color of revolution. Maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, what do people generally associate red with? Like when you think of like going into what, the white light or the red light?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I mean, he ends his life in a church, like talking badly about God, and then he gets carried off into a red light, which is probably signifying not going to heaven. That's probably signifying going to hell, right?
I don't
Which is
think
why
he was,
you're not left with like a really good feeling about it at the end. Like he did escape, but where did he really escape to?
I think no, I don't read it like that. To me, it's like I don't see him as being bitter or anything. It's almost like when he's like talking to God and he's being like, saying like, oh, is this all sort of like, and it doesn't come across as like a bitter tone. It comes across as like, kind of realizes that like it's out of his hands, and as like almost like things happen for like a random chaotic reason in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as, I don't think it's like you wouldn't have that end photograph. Do you know what I mean? Where they have like because when Luke breaks out of prison, he sends the magazine to his fellow inmates, and it's got a picture of him seemingly appear to have made it, where he's dressed in a suit with like two glamorous girls. And then that's becomes like their symbol of like hope, really. But when he comes back and he says it's, he just paid for that photo and it was just, it's all a fraud, they rip it up, or one of them rips it up. But when you see it at the end of the film, it's been glued back together and it's like has the cross symbol, so it makes it and it's this lines up perfectly with the crossroads, which zooms out and it's like the crossfade of those two images. So I see it like that's where he's gone to, that sort of like his like version of a heaven, because he doesn't, I don't think he's not necessarily a bad person. I think what he's saying at the time of the church is probably something that we've all come across, where we've all been a little bit despondent, and maybe he's like, he knows that his like time is running out. He knows that he's he's not done good things, and he even sort of like admits that. It's like almost like a confession, and it's almost like, I'm confessing my sins. What sort of more do you want me to do? So like, what more is there for me to do on this earth?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because I
I
think
guess
he's just
I'm swayed by your further interpretation there. Like you've swayed me now the other direction.
Well, I think like that's why the film is very unique in terms of its like the time that it was made, because it's on the cusp of New Hollywood, which I don't know if I've like explained it before, but it's a period of when movies were being made, and there wasn't like a relaxation of like censorship laws and rules. So you have movies like The Godfather and like movies like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and there's like a lot of more like drugs being seen and nudity and sex and violence, and like there's less like the characters are morally ambiguous, or committing crimes and everything. But I feel like this movie kind of wants to paint Luke as just being like a rebel without a cause. He's rebelling, but it's not really clear what he's rebelling against, and he's not trying to do it to like for any material gain. He's like not he's rebelling, but it's like a wider thing. He's like rebelling against society. It's not like he has a personal grudge against somebody.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What did I was going to ask you what you thought of the stars of the movie?
What do you mean with him with the coins, or?
Yeah, like as an introduction to the character.
I mean, I guess he just seemed like he was drunk and ripping them off, but was he getting the coins out of them, or was he just destroying them?
I think he was just destroying them. There was like no like
Like
purpose
why
to
would
it.
so I never understood why he was doing that, or why they'd throw him in jail for so long for such a stupid thing.
Yeah, maybe there was like I wonder if there was like more to it, like whether he sort of like answered back to the cops or something, or like he didn't seem remorseful about it. He was just like didn't have a explanation for doing it. It's like he was just bored.
Was he trying to get arrested?
Do you think maybe he was?
I
Maybe
think so.
he like because he's been in the army, and I wonder like he had that like structure in the army, that like routine, and if he's not able to fight anymore for whatever reason, he can't be in the army, maybe that's what he was seeking.
That camaraderie with the other guys and being in like an army bunk type setting and all that kind of thing. No, he was trying to escape right at the end.
So, yeah maybe... But it's interesting how his escape is a result of when his mom comes to visit him, and then she dies, and then they're like, oh, you can't go to a funeral, and they don't have the guards, the prison officers don't have any empathy for him and just stick him in that like what did they call it, the hole or something like the box. Yeah
Well, I mean, I was thinking about the box is really not all that bad. Like they stick people in the box for like a day, but in like our society, they stick people in solitary confinement for like huge amounts of time. But for like months at a time sometimes. And that drives people crazy because they have no contact with anybody for months. They're just in a solitary confinement cell you know?
Yeah. I mean, the box is not like you can't lie down in that, you know.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to lie down. It would have been baking hot, I guess. It's like, I think
It would have
this
been
film.
brutal, but it's only a day.
Any man with dirty pants on sitting on a bunk spends a night in a box. Any man don't bring back his empty pop bottle spends a night in a box. Any man loud talking spends a night in a box. You got questions, you come to me. I'm Carr, the floor walker. I'm responsible for order in here. Any man don't keep order spends a night in the box.
Well, I think he was put in there more than one day. Like, I
At a
don't know how.
time?
Yeah. But you're like, I don't know. I don't think I would want to be in either the box or like in solitary confinement or anything like that. That's like horrible.
Yeah, obviously. Either one is horrible, but you know.
But I mean, what did you think of the whole his mom sort of like that scene? Because I thought it was quite interesting because we get to see a bit more of his character because he's like very much you don't really he's a man of few words, isn't he? So it's like
Yeah.
we don't really have like necessarily the background to him, that we don't really see like, you know, him just going about his everyday life, and we just see him getting arrested at the very start of the movie.
Yeah. She dying of tuberculosis and she's smoking a cigarette. Classic.
Yeah, those were the times.
Yeah. My doctor recommends I have at least 2 of these cigarettes a day with my tuberculosis.
Well, they used to do those like old adverts where it was like the cigarette adverts, you know, where it's like doctors recommend you smoke Camel cigarettes for a smoother taste.
She starts coughing. She's like, "Oh, it's time for another cigarette. Oh, I think I'm right. I came to visit you. I was too sweet to you, Paul Newman. What was his name? I'm leaving the house to your other siblings. Screw you. Enjoy prison."
No, because she was like trying to say like her justification to leave the house was because she always like favorited him more.
Yeah.
And she never really gave anything to the other siblings, which is kind of like, you know, I don't know.
My final gift to you, Paul, is you get nothing. Enjoy prison.
I thought that scene was kind of nice.
Oh, I thought it was
Did you
nice. No, I thought it was just the last felting of this guy in jail. What else about this movie? What do they have chain gangs in England? Did you guys ever have this?
No, I don't think so.
There's not like videos of like knights dragging people along where they like dug the trenches for the royal poo latrine or something.
I don't think so. No.
No.
And the closest you can get, actually, there are prison movies in the UK prison movies.
Yeah.
So they're always like really awful. They're like really violent and stuff. It's like they make US prisons look quite nice, I think.
Does the UK have the same like raping problem that America has in the prisons?
Yeah, I guess.
You do?
There's a famous movie called Scum, which was made in like the 80s, I think, or maybe the 70s. And it was like a boys' prison, you know, for like teenage boys.
Yeah.
It's like features all sorts of horrible things happening to it, like boys and stuff, and like it's really violent. So
it's probably feminist delight. Now I know I've seen it.
No, it's like not a nice movie. It's actually really horrible. It's like a really tough watch. But of course, like another prison movie is like A Clockwork Orange, which kind of like, because he goes to prison, so you know that does.
He does. It's not really. It's more of like a Is it prison or like a government like
It's prison, isn't it?
brainwashing institute?
He signs up to the experiment in order to get a lesser sentence, right? So
Oh yeah, that's right. He does. It's not. I guess the brainwashing's not in the prison. I guess he left the prison to go to the brainwashing thing.
yeah. So
Yeah. We'll have to
know.
do Clockwork Orange as another movie review soon. I also said that we should do all the Bond films. So
Yes, I
but
think
we're back. We got to stick on this movie though.
yes. So
So chain gangs in the UK happened. That's the thing.
no, they didn't happen. I've never seen one. I don't think they did. I mean, if people know, then let me know, but I don't remember. I mean, maybe they did. It just doesn't seem like it would really work because the UK is so small. Like the reason that it works well in the US is because there's nowhere for these guys really to run. Like these roads are really remote in the middle of nowhere, aren't they? So
yeah. So I have a question for you. Would you rather be in the chain gang prison, or would you rather be in the like high security, concrete and barbed wire prison?
probably. I don't know. I'd rather not be in any prison.
Yeah, but you have to pick. That's not an answer.
I don't want to. I feel like the concrete one would be horrible. Like, let's be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a modern prison.
Yeah.
Or this old-fashioned prison.
Can I be in a prison in space?
No, you can't be in a space prison. That's not. You gotta pick between actual prison and this old-timey chain gang prison.
I'll be in an old-timey one. I feel like that would be kind of fun in some ways.
In some ways. I think the old-timey one would be epic. It'd be way more fun than this new shit going on.
In a way that you could sing songs, right? And
get exercise. You're
outside and you're kind of like getting fresh air. I guess the time would go quite quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing like physical labor and like, you're not just sort of, what do people do in prison?
Like, I think the food was better too. The food looked better in the old-timey prison.
One of my favorite moments of the movie is when so this is the second time that Luke is like caught after trying to run away, and like they're trying to break him, and they're basically like give him loads of food on his plate and tell him like if he doesn't eat it, he's gonna go in the box, and like the other prisoners start to take like spoonfuls of his food because he can't eat it. I think that's like there's so many like moments where it's like almost like that sort of solidarity, like
camaraderie.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it kind of like it's interesting in this kind of time. There were like movies like Spartacus being made, again like showing people coming together. There's that famous scene of I Am Spartacus, and then you have like Cool Hand Luke, and these like even like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is kind of like in that way of like anti-heroes but inspiring people, and they're like going against the system, but
yeah,
like all those films end in sort of like a very tragic way. So I don't know what kind of message that is trying to send. It's like you can fight the system, but like someone's not going to make it out, so it's going to be like but that kind of like happens in real life. So
to fight the system, you almost need a martyr, right? That's kind of what they're showing you, right?
Yeah.
So, and this was at a time where going against the system, you would get martyred. Like all the whistleblowers of the 60s and the 70s, like and the presidents that stood up to the system, like JFK, you know. So it's kind of like showing that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
But what I think I quite like about this movie is the fact that it doesn't feel like it's in any way making fun out of people necessarily. Like it's not mean spirited. Like there's like all the people seem kind of like respectful of each other. Do you know what I mean? Like the prisoners. There's not like that sort of like there's a pecking order, but that sort of like quickly sort of like disappears, you know. But it's never like a like you see in like modern prison movies where you have like the little gangs and you know in the courtyard, you know. So but it just seems like I don't know, like a time where even though they're all kind of different and they're all like in for different crimes and stuff, and they're from different backgrounds, there's like a still this like respect for each other.
Yeah.
So, and that's like interesting with how Luke's character, the way he earns respect is by showing his like determination and sort of resilience, and it's like even when he gets knocked down, he gets like up again to fight. So I think there's like a really powerful message there.
Could be, yeah, definitely. So, sweetie, would you recommend that our audience checks out this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think visually it's like a very interesting movie. The scenery is quite beautiful. There's some really powerful shots. Like there's the guard that wears the sunglasses, and how he's called like the man with no eyes, and how you see the reflection of certain you know, like characters and scenes and stuff, like how his glasses are used to capture that. And I think that's really interesting. His character, I don't know if he actually has any real dialogue. I think he might have a few lines, but he's just like
not many, if any.
He's like almost like kind of like reminds me like the Cyclops or something. You know, this like mythical sort of monster like Minotaur character, right? So he's like something that the hero has to go up against and defeat. And I think what's like interesting at the end of the movie is his glasses get knocked off his face and get broken. So but I think like visually this is a movie that is very powerful and features some really good performances and has like a really great scene of eggs being eaten. We haven't talked about that scene.
Could you eat 50 eggs?
Oh no, I can't even like stomach one egg half the time. I really struggle. Can you imagine trying to make that scene in 2023? There's like no eggs.
The scene was great. I was just thinking, oh, I gotta do this to my kids every morning. You know, I always struggle to get them to eat their eggs.
Yeah.
Like strap them down and be like, 1, 2, 3 eggs in.
What did you think of this movie? What was your sort of like overall sort of takeaway from this film?
I thought it was a very interesting film, and I thought that it showed a lot of good qualities, you know, things like how the people had respect for each other, even though they were all, you know, the scumbags of society. But that kind of has changed in the modern day and age. And I think a lot of that has to do with just a lot of gangs and stuff that are now in there, and now these like racial divides, you know, where that wasn't there before, right? And then another major problem is the drugs.
Yeah, I was
you
just
know?
about to say that. Yeah.
So when you add all of that together, you got racism, drugs, and, you know, just gangs and stuff. It's just turned into a nightmare. So I think that's made prison way worse than it used to be. And obviously now you're stuck inside like these tiny little, you know, I mean, imagine being, I just, no, like prison sucks. That's why I don't like prison films, but I thought this one was actually a really good film. So that's my take on it, is even if you don't like prison films, this film was well done enough with like the filmography work, which is really good. And there's a lot of scenes that look like a painting almost, you know. And the story was good and the camaraderie stuff was pretty good. So
yeah, there's some like really powerful you know, you say like almost paintings, like the moment after he's finished eating all the 50 eggs and he's like, his body is positioned almost like Christ on the cross. And I think that's like obviously a bit, maybe, I don't know if it's a bit heavy-handed with its like symbolism, but I think it's it is kind of like powerful because he has almost become like a Christ-like figure to these prisoners. And he has this like mystery, sort of mythical, sort of like almost like unknown like past, you know, like we hear that he's I think he was meant to be in the Korean War and he was like, you know, a decorated hero and stuff, but it's never really sort of like given much depth to what he's meant to be. And I kind of like that. I wish like more movies would do that, where they just like leave things. We don't need like a prequel to or a Disney Plus TV show about these like characters. Like just let there be a little bit of mystery. So, you know.
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah.
A good character doesn't need like a 6-part prequel series to be introduced.
At least a flashback and a montage, I think, would have helped, but yeah. Anyways, I thought it was a good movie. Don't want to make this review too long, so people check it out. But I thought it was a really good movie. People should check it out. And let us know what you all thought down in the comment section for this Uncensored Cinephiles podcast review of Cool Hand Luke. And let us know if there's any other movies you want us to check out. In the meantime, we have some ones planned for you guys that I think you all like as well. So
yeah, I mean, we hope to do a bit more of a like in-depth, like deeper analysis of some other films that like deal with what we've previously discussed, but we also want to sort of like, I don't know, sort of like celebrate cinema and, you know, discuss movies that have had a cultural impact. So Cool Hand Luke is definitely one of those movies, and it's interesting to see how these movies all sort of like deal with the same sort of themes, like, you know, anti-conforming and anti-establishment and questioning authority and that sort of stuff, because, you know, even a movie like Cool Hand Luke still kind of touches on themes that we've previously discussed in other films.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
And just try to tie it all in, okay?
All right. Well played, Sruti. All right. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
What's up, y'all? I'm the last man on Earth. Shit's all fucked up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.